Hi, Andrew Pierce here. Join me every Friday lunchtime for a proper no-nonsense debrief of the week's events. With special guests in the studio and the GB News team on the ground, I'll be getting you up to date with news, some intelligent discussion and my own sharp take. The weekend starts here with me every Friday lunchtime on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Lawrence Fox, on GB News. Frank, fun, fearless, and sometimes serious. Much as I love a Friday night punch-up, what I really want is a battle of ideas. I want to look at things differently. I want to hear different voices and engage with your unique experiences. Every Friday at 7 p.m. on GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello there, welcome back. You're watching GB News. I'm Bethany Elsey with your top stories. More than 23,700 people have been killed and 5 million are displaced after major earthquakes hit southern Turkey and northern Syria on Monday. Several children have been rescued from the rubble today, including a 10-day-old baby and his mother, who survived 4 days in a collapsed building. An appeal by the UK's Disasters Emergency Committee has raised more than £30 million in its first day. Meanwhile, Syria's government has given permission for humanitarian aid to be sent to rebel-held areas. President Joe Biden has ordered a high-altitude object the size of a small car to be shot down over Alaska. The US Air Force downed the object that was flying at 40,000 feet and posed a reasonable threat to civilian flight. The Pentagon says it's not similar in size to the suspected Chinese spy balloon that was downed off the coast of South Carolina on Saturday. White House spokesperson John Kirby says a recovery operation is underway.
We don't know. As I said, state-owned. We don't know if it's state-owned. And we don't understand the full purpose. We don't have any information that would confirm the object. We do expect to be able to recover the debris since it fell not only within our territorial space, but on what we believe is frozen water. So a recovery effort will be made, and we're hopeful that it'll be successful, and then we can learn a little bit more about it.
Protesters have reportedly thrown missiles and damaged a police car at a rally in Merseyside. Officers are dealing with a group protesting against refugees and a counter-protest after it descended into chaos. Knowsley MP Sir George Howarth said the protest was triggered by an alleged incident on social media, and he criticised misinformation. Merseyside Police says there have been no injuries. The latest figures show the UK economy narrowly avoided falling into recession in the final quarter of last year. Data from the Office for National Statistics shows the economy saw zero growth between October and December, but the overall annual GDP rate grew by 4.1%. The Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, welcomed the figures but warned there's still more to be done.
We are not out of the woods. Inflation is still much too high. That is causing pain for families up and down the country, which is why we need to stick to our plan to halve inflation. If we do that and play to our strengths in science and technology, we really can be one of the most prosperous countries in Europe.
You're up to date on TV, online and DAB+ radio. This is GB News. Now it's time for Headliners.
Hello, I'm Andrew Doyle and welcome to Headliners. Joining me tonight are two animals of the comedy scene, Mr. Turtleneck himself, Daniel O'Reilly, aka Dapper Laughs, and our very own big dog, it's Nick Dixon. But before we let these two beasts off their leashes, let's have a quick look at Saturday's front pages. The Daily Mail running with, I'm convinced my Nicola's not in the river. That's more on the Nicola Bulley disappearance. The Telegraph has a similar story. I'm 100% convinced Nicola isn't in the river. That's her partner speaking there. The Guardian is running with Tories plot childcare giveaway in budget. Free childcare they're proposing there. The Times has learn work skills or face benefits cut, jobless told. And The Express, tell us, Harry, are you coming to Coronation? There's a note of exasperation there from the royal family. And the Daily Star has a lovely optimistic story. The sun is falling to bits, so we're all doomed. And those were your front pages. And we're going to kick things off with the front page of Saturday's Guardian. Dan, what have they gone for?
Well, on the face of it, it looks like quite a positive story, you'd think. The Treasury is considering a proposal to massively expand free childcare for 1- and 2-year-olds in England in a move that would cost billions. The Department of Education officials have submitted a plan for a free 30 hours a week entitlement for working parents. And yeah, they're expanding this free childcare, which to me looks like they're preparing for a general election. Yeah, maybe. Maybe there's a bribe. Yeah, maybe there's been some focus groups and mothers are unlikely to be voting Tory at the moment, something like that. But there's a lot more problems that come into this. I've got 2 young daughters, and you know I'm a little bit in tune with what they've got to deal with these places, and the funding doesn't exactly cover the service that they've got. So by chucking more funding in there, more people, more kids in there, it could be hard for them to manage.
I mean, it's really hard. If they're thinking of seriously doing this for absolutely everyone who has kids, small children, isn't it? That's what they're talking about. I mean, I understand it's difficult, but this is going to be expensive. Where is the money coming from, Nick?
Yeah, well, that is a key question. It sounds nice, but how can we afford it when we know over half the country are taking more out than they're putting in tax? We found out the other day. So one wonders where the money's going to come from. Then again, in the long term, the idea is it's going to make money, as Robin Walker is saying here. You've got to consider how much it will save through increased economic activity. So in the long term, of course, there's that. And also, we do have low birth rates, so we do need to incentivise having children in every way possible.
Is that what this is about, you think?
I think it's about that. I'm just broadening it to, if you think about it, you don't want to create disincentives for people to have kids, like if they can't, you know, if they're worried about childcare or something like that. I'm just saying everything should be done to make things easier for people with kids. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to have them, but everyone else should.
Well, you might now.
Yeah,
but this make you want
now.
Yeah, you could have them now, and you could afford to have them. Dan, I mean, your theory is interesting that this is them trying to. This is one of the many things that the Tories are going to try and do to desperately win back voters. Although, what's the point? I mean, like,
I think it's like a last-ditched attempt, and I don't think it's going to work personally myself.
Me either. But anyway, we're going to move on now to the front page of Saturday's Times. Nick, what are they running with?
Yeah, they've got learn work skills or face benefits cut, jobless told. So I have been on benefits in my troubled youth, so I know a bit about this one myself. But they've got this plan for universal credit claimants to attend a 2-week programme of daily face-to-face appointments. Now, the problem is that it will be with people in job centres, and famously, job centres are absolutely awful. And they're describing this as a carrot and stick bid to tackle unemployment. I've yet to see the carrot. I can see the stick, because if they refuse to attend, they'll lose their entire universal standard allowance, which will be $334.91 a month. So my problem with this is it's fine in reality. Like, in principle, learning skills to get back to work is fine. And they're trying to avoid this thing where if you're out of work for 13 weeks, you're far less likely statistically to get back into work. Yes. So that's all fine. But in reality, it will be rubbish because it'll be done in job centres. And I'm sure there's lots of great people working in job centres, but in my experience, they're pretty bad places. They don't really help anyone get a job, and you have to just sort of do it on your own, really.
Are they proposing that they're going to be trained for skills for work within the job centre? I can't imagine that. Yeah, they're going to go for... Basically, it's just nonsense. They're going to have to keep seeing someone every day in a face-to-face appointment that won't really achieve anything. So to me, it's just sort of nonsense. I mean, Dan, this is the problem with this, isn't it? I mean, if you're saying to these unemployed people, you have to continually come in to the job centre for these meetings, endless meetings, They won't have time to find a job.
Well, I think it could work because I couldn't think of anything worse than going into a job centre and having meetings in there every single day. So they might think, do you know what? I'm actually going to get a job instead of doing this. But what I think would be more effective is after 3 months, there's loads of ways that people can make money now, right? Themselves from home, like OnlyFans, for instance. I laugh and I joke, but you know, after 3 months, tell them if they don't get a job, they have to set up an OnlyFans account. They'll be making dough. I think so.
Not everyone has your raw sexual magnetism, though, Dan.
Well,
that, OnlyFans doesn't really work.
They could do one of Andrew Tate's online courses, something like
that. Would that help?
Learn to make money.
No, you see, going to the job... Because I remember trying to claim when I was unemployed and in a bad way, and it was so bad, I just said, I won't eat. I'd rather not eat.
Well, actually, Dan said he was joking, but actually he was right. The only way you end up getting a job, in my experience, is it is so bad going in there. You just think, I'll just do
I think that's what it is. It's like they're trying to annoy him into doing it. But look, if they could actually teach them something that would get them... teach them a way they can make their own money, that's what I say.
Yeah, become an influencer.
Well,
Online influencer, something like that. All right, let's go to the front of the Telegraph now. Dan, what's this all about?
Let me have a little look here. So, Boris Johnson Partygate inquiry faces new obstacles to proving his guilt. So, whistleblower witnesses told that they should not expect to be kept anonymous. The investigation into whether Boris Johnson knowingly misled MPs over Partygate is struggling to prove his guilt because basically what they're saying is, look, come and give us evidence, but we are going to grass you up the BJ if you do.
Are they still scared of him? I mean, does he wield that much power now that they would?
Well, you don't know what these politicians have got on each other. That's the thing.
They must have all sorts.
That's what I'm saying. So they don't want to grass him up in case he grasses them up, and that's what I think.
Yeah, Boris strikes me as the sort that would hold grudges and keep information.
He knows.
He knows. What do you think?
Well, they said that, didn't they, when he was in, that there was sort of a mafia feeling. It's hard to imagine when you picture Boris, but they always said that, he sort of picked his favourites. If you were loyal to him, you got rewarded. If you were disloyal, you were punished.
Really?
Yeah, they always said that about how he picked his cabinet.
Fluffy and clownish.
I know, I think that may be a ruse. I think really he's a more sort of a gangster-like figure. He's going to whack him.
Yeah, OK, that's interesting. And, of course, maybe he'll come back as a leader of the Tories one day and then whack him that way. And also on the front of the Telegraph there, this story about Nicola Bulley's partner, who's 100% convinced that she isn't in the river. It's a very sad story, and it's going on and on for good reason. And the Daily Express also has a picture of Nicola Bulley's partner with her. And then this story about the royal family, that's not going away. What's this about?
Yeah. Do you want me to do this one? It's just that... Or are you doing it? I don't know. I'm trying to pass it off.
I'll have a look, yeah.
Harry.
I mean, all the stuff... I'm just interested in all the naughty stuff about Prince Harry and all like,
the stuff in his autobiography.
All the stuff that come out, I love it. But, yeah, they're basically saying Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have been included on the coronation guest list. So the King is going to invite them. I love that. I reckon they should invite also the woman that come out recently that he lost his V plates to. Get her to go as well. I mean, I love it. The saga continues. Let's have another book after they go to the event and see what happens.
It's endless. But with this, it's interesting because they're saying they're going to do the seating plan so that Harry and his brother aren't seen together. I mean, this is hopeless, isn't it?
Well, they don't want to have another scrap, do they? Do you know what I mean?
I think they should. Well, another dog bowl situation. Didn't one of them throw the other into a dog bowl?
I don't know, but you know what Harry's like when he gets stressed. He'll end up on a sesh.
Yeah, brutal. OK, let's move on. This is the Daily Star. Daily Star, they often do these kind of sort of faux Armageddon, scary science stuff.
Yeah, the sun is falling to bits, and they don't mean the newspaper, sadly. It's the actual sun, the famous life-giving orb in the sky.
Orb.
Yeah, I went with orb, because I wasn't sure what to call it.
I think it is an orb. I think it counts.
So they're saying material from a filament of plasma that erupted from the sun's surface can be seen swirling atop the giant ball of fire, that's the sun, in remarkable footage shared on social media. So, yeah, so a chunk of it's broken off, and this is from the NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory, and apparently that's irregular. No one knows what. That's not typical. Bits of the sun coming off. So and so there's some concern about this.
I mean,
we kind of need it to live.
Are you sure it's not typical? I mean, this is a big nuclear
reactor. Yeah, no one knows what
to
make of it.
Things fly out of it all the time.
What I think's crazy is that a massive chunk of the sun has come off, and the Daily Star are the only people that picked up on it.
Right, so maybe this
it should be on every front cover, not Harry. Like, we don't really care what happens, but it should be everywhere. If it's true, This is massive.
I love the Daily Star. This is my kind of story.
I'm not going to worry because I don't think the Daily Star have the scoop on this one. I just don't believe it. I think this is probably the sort of thing that must happen all the time.
It is suspicious that it's not on other papers.
It is, isn't it? That's what I mean. That's what I mean, yeah. OK, well, that's enough of the front pages, but after the break, we're going to be going into the newspapers and we'll be covering various stories, including Amsterdam, which is Amsterdamming up its stream of degeneracy, why Edinburgh is increasing their degeneracy, and why truancy is back with a vengeance. So we'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prisons?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
You're an inspiration to us all.
Clip that bit off.
Well, you are.
That's my ringtone. My political ambitions those days are gone, I can tell you. She's only teasing. Go on. He's probably going to want to lay down now. I'll give him 2 minutes to have one. Let's respectfully disagree. That's what we like on Jubes and Kerr. Come and join us. GB News, the People's Channel.
Michelle Dewberry, weekday evenings at 6 o'clock.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. Join me on GB News on a Sunday morning for topical discussion, debate, arts and culture, and sometimes even ethical dilemmas.
I don't always agree with you, Michael.
Michael Portillo, Sundays on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
He's the king of breakfast TV, and he's back. Eamon Holmes, back on the TV with me this morning.
Even remember my name.
I know, it's been 4 months. Do you have holy water by your bed?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
already to bless.
Yeah. Oh, Eamon. Oh.
Why do you not believe anything I say?
Eamon Holmes back on GB News Breakfast at 6 a.m.
This year on GB News, we've got brand new members in the family.
Join us. Across the entire United Kingdom, we cover the issues that matter to you. GB News will always stay honest, balanced and fair. We want to hear whatever is on your mind, and we don't talk down to you.
The establishment had their chance.
Now we're here to represent you.
Britain's watching. Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236.
And YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB+ radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Welcome back to Headliners, your first look at Saturday's newspapers. And I am joined tonight by 2 comedians, Dan O'Reilly and Nick Dixon. So we're going to bring this section with, we're going to start with the I paper, some breaking news here in the I. What's this?
Yeah, breaking news, which means I don't have to know it in too much detail. But this is protesters clash with police outside Merseyside Hotel, which is thought to house asylum seekers. So the inevitable tension you're going to get with the catastrophe we have with people coming into the country and so on. Although obviously, asylum seekers are different from, migrants who if they're actual legitimate asylum seekers. Anyway, it's got nasty and kicked off. They're describing it as an initially peaceful protest, which reminds me of that mostly peaceful meme. So
yes.
It's initially peaceful, but then missiles started flying, not actual rockets, but missiles of some sort.
Like
were
bricks
thrown,
and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is the worry, isn't it? That the kind of, when protests turn violent, these aren't the people who are going to really delineate between illegal immigrants and actual asylum seekers who need help. And, often those people get caught up in this kind of thing. It's not really fair, is it, Dan?
No, but imagine sending them. It's like now, whoever these people are, if they've been struggling before and now they're seeing all this, they're struggling again. But I personally, I think of the working class of this country, and in these areas, people are probably just looking at like the government are helping these people, spending money on these people, and not helping us. That's how these. That's
the frustration.
That can be the frustration with the working class at the moment. They can't. The transport's ruined. You can't get an ambulance if you you can't afford to pay your bills. You can't. And then now asylum seekers are moving in. The government are paying for that. People are angry.
Yes, so you can understand why these sort of tensions might escalate. I suppose my point is sometimes they are misdirected.
Yes,
they'll be misdirected against people who haven't done anything.
Of course, yeah.
And that's the sad thing, really. Anyway, we're going to move on now to this story, which is from Saturday's Telegraph. So shall we talk sex and drugs? That's your speciality.
Oh, God, finally, something I can relate to. Amsterdam, all of that was very, all the stories at the beginning really a bit much for you, but now Amsterdam, the red light district, I can relax.
Some people would feel the opposite, Dan. They'd be scared of talking about this.
Well, listen. In fact, I thought I could relax until I read this. Brothels will be forced to close earlier under new regulations due out in May, designed to help clean up the city's image. Smoking cannabis outside in Amsterdam in the red light district will soon be made illegal, and brothels are forced to close earlier under new rules. Now, this is because the local residents that live in Amsterdam are getting fed up of the smell of marijuana and of all the stoned people walking around, and everyone in the red light district, why'd you move to Amsterdam if you're paranoid about that stuff? And I think it's bad to close them early because, everyone knows if you go to Amsterdam, the later you go to the brothels, the smaller the queues are.
I have to say that my experience of this is not as extensive as yours, I should say. Although I have been to Amsterdam, and I'm with you in a sense. I'm surprised that they didn't know. When you buy a house in Amsterdam, there's going to be a lot of stoned people.
I didn't know there was actual residents in Amsterdam. I thought everyone was just out there stoned and having...
I thought so. Nick, I imagine you're going to take a more kind of puritanical approach.
No, I've got a mixed view because... In one way, it's the continued march of the fun police because we already had this thing where you had to book the prostitute online, which came in Amsterdam instead of it in the window. This was a story we covered a few weeks ago. Not me personally, Andrew, but this was a story. For safety, you'd book it online, but then the actual sex workers were complaining, saying it won't be safe. Anyway, so of course, although I deplore the behaviour, Andrew, I also hate the safety culture, this anodyne safety culture, because it's a unique cultural experience going to Amsterdam. It's supposed to be for degenerate hippies, and now what you're saying is they can't have fun and do that, and that's synonymous with Amsterdam. Although, just to give balance on that as well, it's saying the brothels will close at 3 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. So it's not a massive change. Like, if you can't get it done by 3 a.m, do you really need to be up till 6?
Well, you might not just want to do one. That's the thing. You might want to get while you're over there. You might. Well, I heard you can. Anyway, let's move on because my wife's watching. So
I mean, I did go there once and I did walk around the red light district. It did feel a bit grim to me, but then I suppose I'm not the target.
Yeah, but
it's supposed to be, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's the red light district.
Yeah,
it's that's where you go.
And don't people go there for the drugs? That's the reason why people go. If they make that illegal, then
it's going to affect the tourism 100%.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would have thought so. Anyway, we're going to move on now and let's go to this is on to Saturday's Times. Edinburgh now. Are you planning on going to Edinburgh anytime soon?
No, look, hopefully I'll never go again. Not attacking the city, but attacking the festival, which I'm sick of because I hate the comedy world. But this is Edinburgh strip clubs win legal battle to overturn ban. So we're sticking on a similar theme. So there was an attempt to... There was a question of would strip clubs be legal or not?
Yeah, I remember this.
Could you stop them in a discretionary basis, meaning some but not others? But this judge, Lord Richardson, has ruled that no, you can't really do it like that. So he's just going to have to overturn the whole thing.
Didn't they already do it? Didn't the council already ban these strip clubs and that kind of thing?
They tried to, but now they can't though. In this, as I understand it, he's overturning the ban.
Yes,
that's the point.
Yes,
and there was already, you'll remember from earlier shows, there was this moral confusion where they were like, well, they can strip, but they've got to wear their clothes, which is a tricky one, to stripping clothes. And that was because of this weird sort of conflict in our culture between, on the one hand, it wants to celebrate empowered girl bosses who get to strip if they want, but at the same time, there's this middle-class feminist panic about it. So they said, tell you what, you could strip, but with your clothes on. So that was mental. So it's the same kind of thing as the Amsterdam story. It's like, I've never been to a strip club. Maybe I'd like it. But the point is, what I don't like is the authoritarianism, especially from the woke left and the Nicola Sturgeon mob saying you can't have these.
It's always been like that way in Scotland, though. I mean, Scotland, very much the church the Presbyterian Church has a big sway over sort of sexual elements. But Edinburgh isn't known for this kind of thing. It's different from Amsterdam, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, look, in general, cities have strip clubs. I think that there's a little bit of a grey area where some pubs can get their licences and it's like a pound in a jar, and a woman just gets up and strips. So they're not like strip club sort of things. I've heard again,
right?
But so I think what the problem is here is the legal battle between pubs just doing it and like official strip clubs. But look, I think they're old hat. Like let them crack on.
You know what's weird, Dan, is that you've not experienced any of these things, but you've heard about them. Like you spend a lot of time talking to other people about them, or reading up on them.
I've done a lot of extensive research for Lad Culture for a previous character I had.
So you're like Robert De Niro with the ball.
That's
Isn't
right.
it a bit embarrassing? I mean, just from your research, obviously not your personal experience, but when you go and see a stripper, I would find it a bit funnier and a bit silly, and
it's quite arousing. I heard.
Oh, is that the point?
Yeah, I think that's the point. Yeah, I think it's to get you excited and and let's move on. I don't know.
You don't get to decide when to move on, Dan. I might just make you talk about this for 20 minutes. No, let's go on to Saturday's Garden. Some good old-fashioned truancy, Dan.
Yeah, so a third of 15-year-olds persistently are absent from school in England since September. This is in The Guardian. Attendance rates remain lower than before the start of coronavirus. So there were low rates. We all had the pandemic, and they're even lower now. And a third of the 15-year-olds are persistently absent from classrooms in England.
Wait, does this mean just because they're so used to not going into school?
From the lockdown, from the pandemic.
So now they're like, well, we're not going back.
Yeah, and it could have something to do with what they're teaching in school now. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, it looks... I'd say, look, the pandemic, the lockdown, the kids are used to spending their time at home and they probably just can't be bothered to go into school.
It's not good news, is it?
No.
No, it's another cost of lockdown. I say that a lot, but that's because it keeps coming up because there are many costs of lockdown. And much like the lockdown, where we saw the biggest wealth transfer ever or whatever, it affects poor people the most, which this article says. It's the most disadvantaged kids that are sort of getting lost in the system, so to speak. And again, the left should be deeply ashamed of their rabid support of lockdowns, because this is another one of the costs, is that it's having...
You say the left, but the right also. I mean, the Tory government was one that implemented...
Yeah, the left, exactly. The Tory government. But anyway, so yes, it's very, very unfortunate, although, of course, I hated school. So in another sense, I'd hate to go to school. But
yeah, but there's this thing about,
whimsical.
I mean, I know a number of teachers still, because I used to be a teacher as well, and a lot of the posher schools, those kids, they still got a lot out of it during lockdown, because they'd go to Zoom and they'd have tutors at home and all this sort of stuff. But the poorer kids... No,
were there like different levels of Zoom as well? Like the private schools get Zoom Premium, whereas the comprehensive you have to get knocked off after 45 minutes or something.
Yeah,
or 10, I think.
I think what a lot of this comes down to. I struggled a lot in school, and when you get to a certain point, if you're coming up to your GCSEs and you don't think you're going to do well, you can have that sort of attitude. Well, I can't be bothered. I'm just not going to do it. So if these kids have struggled to get it done at home, get the learning done, then they're just thinking, do you know what?
And that's a real problem, because that sort of teenage apathy coincides with some of the most important exams you ever do.
True. I'm amazed, though, that Dan was bad at school because he's so good at research.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, I researched a lot on truancy throughout that time as well.
Yeah, in preparation for this day. OK, well, Saturday's Telegraph now. Some classic Tory confidence, Nick?
Yeah, I don't think we'll win. The battle cry of any great party. Tories stepping down at election on why they're quitting. So the Telegraph has spoken to half the 18 Tories who've announced they won't seek re-election. And they're all saying very similar things. Mark Pawsey is saying it's going to be difficult. Crispin Blunt, I don't think it's likely we'll win. There's various degrees of we definitely won't versus we could, possibly, maybe, or probably not. So, and, it's really the Tories getting what they deserve for, I would say, a few things. One, lack of conservatism. That's a big one when you called that. Two, general incompetence, which everyone's noticed. And three, removing people that win, like Boris Johnson and Andrew Bridgen and people like that. And within that, I'd put the infighting as well, so general mismanagement. And as Sir Charles Walker here says, we put party politics above the interests of the country. And I think that sums it up. He also mentions that he was very angry about telling children, they were going to kill their grannies and the whole COVID.
Right. But what about, these people who are saying they're stepping down because they don't think they've got a chance of winning, what about party loyalty? If they're saying we're not running because we haven't got that's not good for the Tories. Why would they do that?
Maybe they know something that we don't know. If you can imagine... but they should be being loyal, like you said, but if you can imagine how bad we think they are with everything we've seen they've done, if these people are on the inside as well, what else is going on? What else is going wrong?
Humiliation. I think it is going to be a total wipeout from the look of things. I just don't think they can claw it back at this point.
We have a huge problem, which is that the actual views people have, as we just saw with the recent stats on the death penalty, which is that most people in Britain actually favour it when it comes to heinous crimes like killing a child or killing someone in a terrorist act. But that kind of thing is sort of absolutely unheard of in the elite, in party politics. So as long as the parties don't represent people and there's this massive gap, of course they're going to get spanked at the election. But the only problem is we're going to have even worse parties like Labour and SNP replacing them. And it's very hard for them to come back. I think if Boris had resigned during lockdowns, although I hesitate to tell people they should resign because people have been doing it to me on Twitter. But if Boris had resigned, he could have come back now. Or if he'd done something good during that time, whereas obviously he's got Partygate and that whole scandal. But yeah, I think they're obviously in massive trouble, but they do kind of deserve it.
They do, and I know a lot of Tory people who voted Tory traditionally who don't want them in next time. But when Labour get in, they might rue that.
Oh yeah, it's going to be even worse.
Might even be worse. Anyway, Saturday's Independent. Are cheesecake-related crimes on the rise?
Thank God, another intelligent story for me to hit after that political madness. Woman poisoned a look-alike friend with drugged lace cheesecake. I mean, this is crazy stuff. A Russian-born now, I'm probably going to get this wrong, Victoria Nazarova, faces up to 25 years behind bars for poisoning her friend. Basically, what this woman's done is she's called her friend over to help with her eyelashes because she's had an eyelash dilemma and her friend does eyelashes. And once she's done that, she's given her a cheesecake to say thanks. The woman's died because they look alike. She's grabbed her passport and everything and she's pretending she's her. She's left, she's gone to America. They've come over and found out, but it's all down to the cheesecake and it reminds me of the wife's cooking. She's tried to kill me a couple of times that way.
Well,
but the woman didn't die.
I'll just correct you on that. Yes.
Did she not die?
She didn't die, and that's how she got caught.
Oh, really?
She came back and she'd taken her ring and her passport and her whole identity.
Oh, she survived?
That's the whole problem, yeah.
Yeah. If you're going to kill someone with a cheesecake to take their identity, you've got to make sure they go down.
Yeah.
That's
the moral.
From the attempted killer's perspective, when I say it's a problem.
No, it's a wonderful thing that she survived.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. The only thing that bothers me about this story is that if a man does something, it's always like toxic masculinity, and this is what men are like. But is this toxic femininity to sort of, deviously poison a cheesecake?
I mean, if you're going to poison the cheesecake gives it a feminine slant, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, that's misogynist. But I because my dad's a chef. Many men are chefs and make good cakes, Andrew. No, but I know it's a good point, though, you're making. But, we should all move on, probably.
We're going to, let's end this part of the show. But coming up after the break, are we on the precipice of a brave new internet? And we're going to be talking about the blowback on the new Harry Potter game and also why it's smart to be nice to a cockatoo. I mean, the bird. See you in a minute.
I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m.
What's the scoop?
I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians.
That's right.
As we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight.
We're going to get into trouble.
If it's a big story, we'll be covering it.
Spill some tea on him.
There we go.
But we'll also have some fun.
I wouldn't stick up a bank.
My father didn't love me.
So anyway.
Headliners every night from 11 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. Join me on GB News on a Sunday morning for topical discussion, debate, arts and culture, and sometimes even ethical dilemmas.
I don't always agree with you, Michael.
Michael Portillo, Sundays on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, Andrew Pierce here. Join me every Friday lunchtime for a proper no-nonsense debrief of the week's events. With special guests in the studio and the GB News team on the ground, I'll be getting you up to date with news, some intelligent discussion and my own sharp take. The weekend starts here with me every Friday lunchtime on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Lawrence Fox, on GB News. Frank, fun, fearless, and sometimes serious. Much as I love a Friday night punch-up, what I really want is a battle of ideas. I want to look at things differently. I want to hear different voices and engage with your unique experiences. Every Friday at 7 p.m. on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, your first look at Saturday's newspapers. We're going to kick off this section with The Independent and a story I'm incredibly knowledgeable and passionate about. More AI stuff. Who's got this one?
Yeah, I've got this one. But this is actually a good AI one. This is the internet is about to change forever, and Google might lose, which is always fun. So Bing is suddenly going to overtake Google. It's a bit like MySpace came back and overtook Facebook. But
what
it's
is
like
Bing?
Bing. Yeah, well, that's the thing, and that's a great question, Andy, because it actually, even my analogy is actually wrong because no one's ever used Bing. Bing is a search engine. It's kind of like Safari. It's kind of like you use Google, but Bing exists and it's there, but no one's ever used it.
Ask Jeeves?
No, it's proper. It's a proper search engine. You've got Safari, you've got Firefox, haven't you? You've got Google.
Oh, I see
but
what
you've
you
got
mean.
Bing, but you just don't know about it because no one ever uses it.
Okay.
But Bing is suddenly going to come through because Bing is working with ChatGPT and they're more focused on artificial intelligence, whereas Google have kind of messed it up. They've taken too long because they were worried about rushing artificial intelligence, probably because they didn't want to kill the world. But they've come to it a bit too late to market, and they've messed up because they've launched this Bard thing.
Yeah.
It made a crucial mistake the other day, which we covered. So Bing have sort of cornered the market, and we're in a brave new world.
So when does this start? When can we all access this, or is this a subscription thing?
Well, it's more the ongoing. It's more about the ongoing sort of battle for who's going to be the king of AI.
You see, but this worries me because, I mean, this strikes me as just as a more sophisticated search engine, right? So it's not, it doesn't just tell you the top answers, it tells you what to think about the various things, and it gives you ideas. But that means that we're just going to get a sort of computer that is narrowing the Overton window more and more, right?
Oh, yeah, and more than that, it'd be like the Terminator. Like, you know, like the Google Lens is going to tell you what everything is. Like you look up things on your phone, now you're just going to be sort of looking at them in real time, in the sky, in the air, like it's pretty much like Terminator. This is how I see it anyway, broadly. But yeah, so AI, you're going to move away from just search to AI and be AI. But Google have been so obsessed with search, they've missed the AI train has overtaken them.
Do you trust AI, Dan?
I know nothing about this at all. I'm not going to pretend that I do. I used that ChatGPT to see if it could write any jokes, and they were scarily good.
They were actually good jokes?
They were quite good jokes, yeah. Kind of offensive, actually, I'll be honest. But I think it's all quite scary how quickly it's moving. But, you know, and kids are using it, obviously, to do their homework and everything like that. But I don't know a lot about it, I'm going to be honest. But
yeah, but if they're writing jokes, I mean, what they're doing, because isn't it just scouring the web and effectively taking other people's jokes? Isn't that what it is?
Well, no, you can give it a subject and give it a subject.
Are you sure it's not just plagiarising?
No, it's actually worse than Andrew, because that's the one thing I was going to say as well. Whether it's Google or ChatGPT with Bing, they're both woke because Google sort of filters your search results. And,
that's what I mean, yeah.
And that's what you were talking about. And whereas ChatGPT is even worse because you ask it, write a poem praising Trump and it won't, but it'll praise Biden and Kamala Harris. So whether it's AI or search, no, either way we're in trouble.
I think it's a disaster. Anyway, we're going to move on to, this is from Saturday's Telegraph. What's this one about? Hogwarts.
This one's crazy. How Hogwarts Legacy exposed the sheer toxicity of Harry Potter fandom. Anti-JK Rowling campaigners, sorry.
It's Rowling, actually.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow. Have turned their wrath on players of a new Hogwarts set game. Earlier this week, game reviewers Shelby and Matt, founders of the popular YouTube channel Girlfriend Reviews, announced that they would be showing the game and playing the game and live streaming the game. And a load of fans come on, begged them not to do it, kicked off, and it made them cry, basically.
Right, but this is hysteria.
Yeah.
People are going crazy about a computer game. They've even got a list. They've got a website called HaveTheyStreamedThatWizardGame.com where transgressors who have played the game, they get listed and attack. These people are out of their minds.
If you go on TikTok and have a little look, if you just put in a couple of hashtags, you can see that they're going absolutely... It's hilarious. I'm sorry, but it is so funny. There are people screaming and shouting about this game, how it's well out of order, that anyone would be interested in it because it's anti-trans.
It's one of the biggest selling games that's ever been, and, of course, it's not anti-trans, and neither is its creator, J.K. Rowling, who has never said anything transphobic. We have to say it again and again because these idiots seem to forget that.
I know, it's pathetic. But it's basically different types of leftists arguing over children's content. I mean, it's already a children's book, now it's a children's game. And IGN, the review site, did this pathetic thing where they reviewed the game, but they questioned whether it was ethical to even play it in the review. I know, absolutely pathetic. The other bit that annoys me, though, is that they somehow it's still men's fault because they were talking about your point that Rowling has actually never done anything transphobic, as we know. But then they said, well, why are they so obsessed with shutting Rowling up? And this person was theorising, well, it's because of misogyny, because she's a successful woman. I was like, oh, it's still misogyny. No, it's like, isn't it radical leftists being idiots and doing what they do? But somehow it's still misogyny.
And yet the target of most of their ire are left-wing feminists. Which is a very this is a very complicated...
I always wonder if the cause... Is that causation, is it really... It might be misogynist in outcome, in a sense, is it motivated by that?
Well, what I will say, Nick, I mean, I don't know what motivates anyone, but what I would say is that it is true that, I know a lot of people who make the same points that J.K. Rowling makes online, but she gets more vitriol than when men do it. I'll be honest, I have seen that.
Maybe you're right. I mean, there was that thing the other day, wasn't there? Has anyone experienced... The Guardian put out, anyone experienced misogyny? And then everyone just replied, yes, from Owen Jones.
Yeah, from The Guardian. Yeah, very funny. OK, we're going to move on to, how about this, some not-so-positive scientific advances in the Metro, this one. Dan, this is a Neuralink.
Oh, have I got this one?
Yeah, it's number 13, because we're...
Well, I'll fill you in. So basically, Elon Musk was developing this Neuralink idea where he wants to put chips in people's brains to sort of enhance them. They call it transhumanism, where you sort of effectively become a half-human, half-robot in the way that you can think. I would just say, I think... For me, I find this very disturbing. I think Elon Musk has done loads of great stuff in terms of buying Twitter and healing Twitter, I would say. But when it comes to this, Nick, what do you think? Should we be enhancing human beings in this way?
Well, I mean, that's the question. I mean, it can help if you're blind and things like that. So obviously, you'd want to have the chance. But then, obviously, it has bizarre implications. And this was about the germs from monkey brains, because they're transporting monkey brains, as you do. And there's dangers that they can have various viruses that are antibiotic resistant.
Why are they using monkey brains in the first place?
Well, because he needs them for the Neuralink. Better than using human brains, Andrew, which is the other option.
But, OK.
But my question
I didn't realise it was an either-or.
My question is, is it really about the monkey brains, or is this a politically motivated attack on Elon Musk because of Twitter?
No, I think he's making a mistake with the Neuralink. Anyway, I don't know. Who knows? We're going to move on to Saturday's Telegraph now. Nick, are you a fan of a cockatoo?
Yes, they're very intelligent creatures, which is what we're about to learn here. So, cockatoos prove they're as smart as chimps when it comes to using toolkits, which is impressive. So they've set up an experiment where there's a cashew nut, but you have to use 2 different tools, and you can choose whether to bring them both at one time, or you come back, you use one, then you use the other. And the cockatoos all had different techniques. Some of them carried both tools the whole time. Some of them made one journey, then a second. And it turns out they're incredibly smart. And it says here...
Oh, they are doing it.
Oh, here we are.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, so they had one tool that opens it, and then one tool to puncture it, and another tool to access it.
I mean, that's quite terrifying. So if robots don't wipe us out, it'll be the cockatoos.
And they're saying they're not... There's quite a strange sentence, but it's not clear if they considered the tools a toolkit. Like, we don't know the thoughts and philosophies of the cockatoos. But I like this sentence. Parrots have been underestimated. I've always said that. I mean, they can talk. They can talk. There was a clue there.
But they can't talk. They just mimic the sound. They mimic the sounds. They don't know what it means.
You've underestimated parrots.
I've always underestimated parrots, Dan. This is my problem. Do you underestimate a cockatoo?
Never underestimate a cockatoo. No, that's a great fun story. See, I like something nice and positive. I saw a dog that could get a ball out of a pond using a net the other day. So
really?
That's my contribution to this story. I thought that was fantastic.
I don't like these animals developing human skills.
Because I've always had them, we just underestimate.
Well, I've seen Planet of the Apes, and I know where it leads.
Yes.
And I'm not happy about it. It'll be Planet of the Cockatoos. Anyway, that's it for this part. Part 3 genuinely does fill me with a degree of trepidation because we're going to have Dan discussing vaginal gummies, Nick is going to be discussing STI self-tests, and no doubt I will be on the phone to Ofcom straight after the show. Wish me luck.
Here on GB News Live, we'll be keeping you in the picture, finding out what's happening across the country and finding out why it matters to you. We'll have the facts fast with our team of reporters and specialist correspondents. Wherever it's happening, we'll be there from 12 noon on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing! You see, amazing!
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison? I don't believe in prison.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This year on GB News, we've got brand new members in the family.
Join us. Across the entire United Kingdom, we cover the issues that matter to you. GB News will always stay honest, balanced and fair. We want to hear whatever is on your mind.
And we don't talk down to you.
The establishment had their chance.
Now we're here to represent you. Britain's watching.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners with me, Andrew Doyle, and this is your first look at Saturday's newspapers. Right, brace yourself because we're looking at Saturday's Mail and vaginal wellness gummies. Dan, are you a fan?
Why would you give me this story, first of all? Why
do you think?
Why would you...
You asked for this one.
You're trying to get me thrown off. All right, go to a doctor, not a reality star, OK? Experts slam Kourtney Kardashian's ineffective vaginal wellness gummies, which claim to support freshness and banish bad odours. Gynecologists have slammed Kourtney's new vaginal wellness gummies, saying there's no scientific evidence that they're going to work. Go to a doctor, go and see a professional. There's been a backlash. Look, they're probiotics and they're meant to change the pH levels, but it's not proven. Experts are not impressed, and I think I navigated that whole thing perfectly well.
You did, Dan.
Yes.
But, you know, I'm going to probe you on it.
Yeah, go on.
A bit more. I'm not really.
I'm actually weirdly enough, I've done a lot of research into vaginas myself personally. So
okay, so you know them pretty well. I mean, the thing about this is, I don't really understand this, but what I will say is the moral of this story seems pretty sound, which is if you've got a health issue, why are you listening to a Kardashian?
I haven't really done the research on this, but where do they put the gummies? Is it?
You eat them.
Oh, right, OK, sorry. I didn't...
Right? Yeah, you eat them. And that's what I'm saying, there's no proof that it can get to the requisite parts.
Right.
That's one of the problems, because... Yeah.
Would you take advice from a Kardashian on a health issue?
No, but what I love is that it's been called patriarchy in a pot. That sounds brilliant, like just, portable oppression. Isn't that what the empire was in a way?
Why is this patriarchy?
Oh, Andrew, it's always patriarchy. Let me explain. Look, they're saying here it's misogynistic and anti-feminist to suggest that vaginas are somehow unclean or unhygienic because their natural smell doesn't fit in with the ideal provided by mainstream media. And so, if a man was dirty and unclean, we'd just call him a pig. But this is actually patriarchy. And there's a brilliant bit here from Dr. Anitra Mitra that calls herself the gyna geek, like gynecologist. Anyone who tells you that you need to change the taste or smell of your vulva or vagina is working with the patriarchy. That's a quote.
But for goodness sake, but this is a woman, I presume Kourtney Kardashian's a woman, is?
Yes.
OK, I don't know who these people are, but like that, and that to me suggests that this is not a patriarchal...
No, because she's bought into it. She's
internalised misogyny.
Yes, and now you can internalise this gummy thing.
Right, internalised gummies. OK, great, let's move on. Can't move on quickly enough as far as I'm concerned. This one is from the Daily Mail. It's about neurotic individuals diagnosing all manner of mental issues. Can you empathise, Nick?
Yeah, but this is fears that teenagers are self-diagnosing autism and ADHD using TikTok. And they go on TikTok and they think they have ADHD. Yes, because you've just watched 80,000 30-second videos in a row. Like, of course you think you've got ADHD. That's what TikTok is. You're describing TikTok. But, of course, there's a serious element that, kids are saying they've got autism and ADHD, and do they actually have it? I mean, autism's obviously real. I'm not quite sure ADHD is, but I'll probably get in trouble for that. But, yes, and they're going... Because of NHS waiting lists as well, they're going on social media and they're deciding, I'll go on TikTok to find out if I've got a mental disorder, which is never a good idea.
No, it really isn't, Dan. What do you think of this one?
Well, I've actually got ADHD, so me and him are going to kick off in a minute. No, I'm joking. I recently got diagnosed with ADHD, and funnily enough, I actually related to content that I saw online. I'm not even joking about how my thoughts can become overwhelming, that I can't concentrate on certain things, and that my focus while doing certain tasks is diverted to other things, like in a dramatic way. And through some of the content I saw on there, I went to get a diagnosis, and it turns out that I'm an absolute nutter.
So you think it is definitely real? All I meant was sometimes kids, they're in school. School's really boring. And then they get told, you've got ADHD, have some Ritalin or whatever they used to do. And it's like, well, no, what if school's just boring and they're just a child? Obviously, it may be different in your case.
It's very difficult. It's difficult because you have to have quite extensive visible, like, inside yourself. You have to really feel it to believe it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, sometimes kids. A lot of it they say is that if you're not interested in something, it's very hard to focus, which is just the way anyway, isn't it?
That's the way kids are. I mean,
yeah,
but
kids are like that.
Can it not be the case that there is such a thing, but it's just that we have an over-diagnostic culture and too many people are caught within the...
It's a trend. It could be considered a trend as well.
OK, right. Well, we're going to move on now to the Daily Star. Big Valentine's plans in the works, in the waterworks.
I love this. Yep. Brits make STI confessions as searches for self-test kits soar before Valentine's Day. Data collected by Superdrug online doctor shows that STI home tests. You can get a home test now. You can order it online. You can check yourself for many different, probably not all of them, but quite a few different... sexually transmitted diseases.
Is the idea that you assume you're going to have a sexual
encounter? What it is when Valentine's comes up, that means you're going to go out with your wife or your missus, isn't you? And you're probably going to have a bit of that. And a lot of the people out there are cheating. So they want to double-check that they haven't before they... that's what I'm saying. And I have done no research into that myself.
Because your wife's watching?
Yes.
So this is about infidelity, Nick?
I think so.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. This story... I've just written another side effect of liberalism. I think I'm descending into self-parody.
What isn't a side effect of liberalism?
Well, I just meant the culture's so degenerate that, like, it gets to Valentine's Day, everyone's just, like, Googling, what...
OK, well,
promiscuity is what it's come.
Let's keep the Valentine's theme and move on to India, Nick. What are they up to?
Yeah, well, this is what I mean, you see, because in India is urging people to ditch Western Valentine's Day and announces instead Cow Hug Day. So what it is, because, they...
What does that mean, Cow Hug Day?
It means what it says on the tin.
You hug a cow?
You hug a cow because India reveres the cow and its links with Hinduism. And, they want to talk... And they've also said it's to counteract the dazzle of Western civilization, which is funny, but, it's actually not a bad idea because actually even the West suffers from the dazzle of Western... Really, it's the dazzle of liberalism. I've just struck it in again.
Do you really think that the hugging of the cow would catch on here, though?
No, it wouldn't, but... Its equivalent could, because what it is, it's really a celebration of Indian sort of national pastimes versus the kind of, this sort of quasi, Western globalist culture that takes over everything. They're saying, let's get back to our traditions. We don't like this Valentine's Day thing. We want to hug a cow, and I applaud it, frankly.
Well, I don't think it'll catch on even in India. I mean, Dan, how do the cows feel about this?
Are we talking about actual cows? Yeah, OK, sorry, yeah.
Hugging actual...
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. I think, you know, if you tried to do that in England, you'd get shot by a farmer.
Well, exactly.
So I wouldn't advise it. But, yeah, I understand what Nick's trying to say here. You know, these Valentines, it's not part of their tradition, isn't it?
Yeah, but wait a minute, Nick. Valentine's Day isn't this big degenerate thing that you're describing. It's where people go out for romantic...
Are you sure? Because
Yes.
look at the previous story, STI check. Everyone's Googling, can I do a self-STI
Do you have a
check?
date for Valentine's, Nick?
Well, obviously not, based on this. I'm saying. But here's the point. I could have on it. I'm too busy, with my work. I'm a workaholic. Here's the point, Andrew. You've got STI check, people checking for STIs versus hugging a cow. And these stories have been placed back to back for a reason. Which way? It's like, which way Western man?
Well, you can get an STI from a cow?
Depends where you hug the cow.
Yeah.
Which culture would you rather have? A healthy cow-hugging culture or a sort of culture just riven with STIs?
I think you're afraid of sex.
Nah, I'm just afraid that... I'm just comparing the two. I'm saying which is better.
OK, well, Nick will be out on Valentine's Day hugging livestock. We'll move on to this last one.
What will I be doing then?
Well, we know what you'll be doing. And this is the ad... Well, this is... What's this one about? McDonald's? This McDonald's advert.
This is my favourite story of the whole day. This is brilliant. I love this one. I mean, obviously I shouldn't love it because it's terrible, but this is my kind of humour. McDonald's slammed for tasteless advert right by a crematorium. McDonald's has said it will remove the advertisement, which residents say will upset grieving families. Have a look at it there. Look, they put that sign there next to a crematorium, McCrispy, for their burger. Now, very insensitive, but did they know what they were doing? I don't know. All I'm saying is if I was putting a relative in there and I saw that, I'll go and buy a McCrispy and have a laugh. I think it's funny.
But it can't be deliberate, can it?
Product placement. It's guerrilla marketing. What's it called? It's like is that the term? It's like a kind of edgy kind of marketing, like, you know what I mean? Viral marketing.
I think they didn't think it through.
Maybe you come out of the crematorium. It's like, you know when you smell burnt toast and you get hungry. You come out of the crematorium.
Although that said, people at funerals, they do have a sense of humour about it.
Yeah,
we're talking about it now and accidentally promoting McDonald's. Dan saying he'd get one, so it has paid off.
Yeah. I would.
You would do that?
Yeah.
OK. All right.
Other burgers are available. I'm just doing the Ofcom bit.
You're doing balance?
Yeah, balance.
Yeah.
Burger King's out there probably still.
But very funny story. People complaining, lighten up. It's not that big a deal.
It really isn't that big a deal, is it? You know, there's room for humour in all moments of life, including the end of life. Anyway, that is all for tonight's show. Before we go, though, let's take another quick look at Saturday's front pages. So the Daily Mail are running with more on the Nicola Bulley disappearance. I'm convinced my Nicola's not in the river. That's her partner's supposition there. And the Telegraph goes with the same story. I'm 100% convinced Nicola isn't in the river. Very sad story, that one. The Guardian is running with Tories plot childcare giveaway in budget. And The Times has got learn work skills or face benefits cuts, jobless told. And the Daily Star has the sun is falling to bits. So a nice cheery one to end on. That is all for tonight's show. Thanks so much to Dan O'Reilly and Nick Dixon. Headlines will be back tomorrow at 11. And remember, if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, do stay tuned because it's The Breakfast Show just after the break.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512,
Virgin Media Channel 604,
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236.
And YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB Plus Radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akue, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh, my goodness. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and tune-in apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Hi, Andrew Pierce here. Join me every Friday lunchtime for a proper no-nonsense debrief of the week's events. With special guests in the studio and the GB News team on the ground, I'll be getting you up to date with news, some intelligent discussion and my own sharp take. The weekend starts here with me every Friday lunchtime on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Lawrence Fox, on GB News. Frank, fun, fearless and sometimes serious. Much as I love a Friday night punch-up, what I really want is a battle of ideas. I want to look at things differently. I want to hear different voices and engage with your unique experiences. Every Friday at 7 p.m. on GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop